we don't have. There's nothing in the TWAB this week. Let's just cut to the chase. There's literally nothing in there.
Yeah.
Pull it up. Go.
Are you kidding? Dr. Lupo played Deep Stone Crypt with
That's what I was gonna bring up. That video's fucking cool. Okay. If you want to see Dr. Lupo do the Deep Stone Crypt raid with a live orchestra backing him, go watch that video. It's actually really dope. I just muted it whenever Dr. Lupo talked, but it was really cool. No disrespect, we like you, Dr. Lupo. I just, I don't like to hear people talking during the spacewalk. Deep Stone Lullaby is a sacred tune to the Destiny community.
Can I tell you that my son, the Deep Stone Lullaby puts him to sleep?
God bless that child. But what we may lack in a TWAB this week, Corey, we have some news bits from around the horn.
News bits from around the horn.
News bits from Joe Blackburn and oh god, I just totally blanked out on his name. Justin Truman. That's who I'm thinking of. Basically the directors of Destiny now. Since Luke and Mark got promoted earlier this year to being franchise directors, they've been on a huge interview spree, which is not something we really saw a lot with Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. But Justin and Joe have been out doing a lot of interviews, and they've let out some interesting nuggets that we didn't really get in the reveal, and it's because I don't think they made sense in the context of the reveal. But there's some things I think that are really interesting to longtime players. But also they shed a little bit of light on some of the new mechanics that we're going to get in the Witch Queen. So I want to go through these. Just a few comments that I found that I think are interesting for us to talk about this week before we get into some patch notes that are actually important. And we might have an extra long war corner tonight.
Ooh.
But the first thing is the topic of the raid coming back. They said, I believe it was in the interview with Polygon, that they're bringing a major raid back. So
they said it in the reveal event.
They did, and they kind of further clarified when they said a major raid. To me, that disqualifies Crota.
Yeah.
Because Crota is basically a glorified dungeon.
It's not Crota, and
it's not Wrath of the Machine. It's fucking King's Fall.
As much as I liked Wrath of the Machine, that's not a major raid. That was it felt like a holdover. No offense to the team.
I would like Wrath in the game simply because that is the one raid in the entire franchise I've never actually cleared. I've gotten all the way to where Axis had like a pube of health left. And then the name of my clan's namesake was born. My girlfriend shanked the final orb that needed to hit Axis straight into a bottomless pit, and we wiped because he was enraged.
Wrath of the Machine is a good raid. I enjoyed
Wrath
that
raid. Wrath of the Machine is good. I'm not gonna say great. I think it's good.
I mean, it's a good short hey, you guys want to raid? We only have this amount of time. Let's go. Let's just do Wrath. It's short.
Yeah, I think it was good. I like the Siege Machine in particular. And I think if you did the Outbreak quest in Destiny 1, that probably adds to your enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
For me, it was so far into the game. I mean, this is literally the week before Destiny 2 came out that I was like, nope, I don't care anymore.
I mean, there's no point at that point.
One day. I still may go back to Destiny 1 one of these days to finish it.
Well, if you do, you know who to call.
If I do, I'm going to call the Ghostbusters, baby.
Oh.
There's no trace rifles. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's got to be King's Fall. There's no other option to me. It's got to be King's Fall.
Nope, Leviathan. It's coming back.
Dude, if it's a Destiny 2 raid, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. Because knowing my luck, it'll be like Crown of Sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I'll be like, oh, great, a raid I'm never going to touch again. Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's got to be King's Fall though, right? With the whole theming around the Hive and Savathûn and their connection with Oryx,
Right, if you want to keep that storyline going for the year, I know they said they're like, oh, we're gonna try to tie reprise content in. They clearly only did that with Omnigul, and then they were like, fuck it after that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, good, because I don't know how you rationalize Sepix Prime coming back for a fifth time. He's as bad as Taniks. I did see somebody joke that we're gonna load into the Witch Queen raid, and Taniks is gonna be a resurrected guardian.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a hive ghost.
Yeah, I saw that at some
I was
point.
rather annoyed seeing that because I was like, no, stop. They're gonna hear you. You're giving them ideas.
Tannix is just the meme now. He's the meme.
Dude,
now.
It's so bad. Listen, when we eventually get Guardian apartments, I'm going to my little igloo on Europa. I'm stealing Tannix's head and I'm taking it back to put above my bed. Because I'm sorry, that head belongs to me. Elsie did nothing to help us in that raid. That thing belongs to me.
It's true. She did not.
I'm gonna put it right next to my Eyes of Tomorrow with the Splicer ornament that I have not bought yet. But I bring up Kingsfall coming back because there was another little nugget in that Polygon interview, and that was talking about the armored raid armor glows that we had from the Age of Triumph at the end of Destiny 1. Everyone remembers, or Age of Heroes, whatever it was called, at the very end of D1. Everyone recalls those raid ornaments, even though most of us were done raiding by that point. And if you've never looked at these, I encourage you to go look at them. We thought for sure, we'll get that Vogue armor in Vault, at least in Master.
Yeah, like if you completed the hard mode one, you would get.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If this was in hard mode and like just say like your first completion of it or your first completion of each encounter gives you an armor ornament, and like you just get the ornaments. It's not actually armor. Yeah. I think we'd all be really happy, and it would have given us all a chance to go or a reason to run Master Vogue. The one time lost weapon a week thing isn't doing it for me. Not when I already don't use most of the weapons from Vogue.
Right.
Like Fatebringer. I think Fatebringer is like the main one that people are using, right?
Yeah, I mean I use Vision a lot.
I don't use Vision.
But I also have a really like awesome roll on it, so
I mean I do. I have other scouts that I like better personally.
Yeah.
But I mean if you've never looked at these ornaments, I encourage you to go look at them because it's funny, you look at them and you're like, oh, the Vault ones look so cool. Kingsfall looks awesome. Arguably the best set of armor they've done in either game, excluding the upcoming Thorn armor. Arguably the best set of armor Bungie's ever created. I think that the Crota set is really cool too. It's a little too green. You look like the fucking Green Giant or Shrek or something. And then you look at the Wrath of the Machine armor, and it looks like something out of Super Hot. It's so bad. Like, you can't make this up. You cannot make up how bad this looks. But I think that what they specifically said in that interview, I want to make sure I got my wording correctly here. Glowy raid armor and souped-up versions of raid weapons could potentially return, but they haven't decided yet. I think after the reception to Master Vault, you have to at least be seriously considering maybe not these specific armors, because I'm one of those, like, I don't want to earn the exact same stuff I had in Destiny 1. I've gotten some of the same armor now. Specifically, my Dead Orbit cloak is very similar to what I had in the first game. My Opulent Stalker cloak from, from Season of Opulence. That's very similar to the Unbelievably Old cloak from Destiny 1. It's basically the exact same design, just with a different pattern on the back. But I had that because I had my little radio on it. I had the Dead Orbit version of that, which is my exotic cloak. I think when we talk about bringing things back from Destiny 1, we have to be really careful what we bring back. Like, bringing Gallarhorn in for the anniversary event, great idea. Great idea. We, Corey and I have talked about it a lot. Like, would Gallarhorn ever come back? And ideas for it. I think that's awesome. You're going to get it in a dungeon from Azure. And the dungeon is in the loot cave. Like, that's really, really cool. Like, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for things like Kingsfall to come back because I think about the great times I had running that. I think about some of the weapons in there. I think about Touch of Malice in particular. And like just how many doors this opens. It opens the door for that. It opens the door for the 3 original exotic swords, Boltcaster, Dark Drinker, and a Raise Lighter. You think of those ones, but then you're like, well, that also opens the door. It's a spiraling effect, right? That opens the door for us to bring back Crota down the line as a dungeon. That opens the idea for us to bring back Moon and Dreadnought strikes and bring those into D2. And then we start thinking about, we heard about how much work it is just to bring over our Crucible map. Like, I can't imagine what a strike or a patrol zone must be like. There's so much to consider with that. And I think when we bring D1 content over, like, I think bringing the activities over is cool and bringing back a handful of the weapons. Like, I think Vault did it well. Vault did not bring every weapon back. Vault left 3 weapons behind. It left the armor behind. I think it was good how they did it. Master Mode needed something more, and it still needs something more, I argue. Because there's really not a huge reason to go run it. Unless you really want the time-lost versions of these weapons, or you're going for the seal, there's not a huge reason to go run Master. That's why I haven't bothered to do Master Vault yet, personally. And we know that they're going to add a Master Mode to every future raid and dungeon from here on out. I genuinely wonder if there's going to be one for the 30th anniversary. I would imagine there will be. But I don't want to see, like, every random... Like, we've had so many legendaries. We kind of addressed this last week and in both of our shows last week about how there's been a lot of Nightfall weapons that we've had brought back, and they're weapons that we love. Like, this season, we have the Comedian Shotgun back, for example. And that's really cool. Like, I have good memories with that. I don't know if I really want it back, though. Like, we've had so many legendary weapons in the last year be brought back as specifically as Nightfall rewards that I just don't know if I want anymore. Like, I like Destiny 2 so much because I feel like we've evolved so far beyond what the weapons were in Destiny 1 now. Like, I still have rose-colored glasses. There's not a day that goes by that I don't long for my old LDS or my 1,000-yard stare. Like, I'm thrilled 1,000-yard stare is coming back, but I don't think we need every random legendary ever made put into this game, regardless if it was top tier or not. Like, AS Luna, okay, AS Luna is one of the top hand cannons ever in D1, probably will still be one of the best in Destiny 2. But when it comes to the armor, like, unless you're going to bring over these specific armor ornaments, like, I'd rather see something new. I want to see something on this level, but brand new if you bring a raid back.
Yeah.
And I hate when people go around, like, when Vault was coming out, they're like, this is the bare minimum we should expect. Like, no, it fucking isn't. They're going to give you a Vex set. Like, this would be cool for Master, like, just to keep like, kind of loop back to it. I'd be okay with these, but I have a feeling if these ever come back, these will be Eververse sets, and there will be something different for Master Mode.
Yeah.
Hell, I mean, tie them to Triumphs. You know, like, oh, you have to complete confluxes for the Vault class item, for the Vault class item ornament. Like, if I'm putting forth that effort to do that activity that only a fraction of a percentage of people will ever do, just give me the ornament.
Yeah.
Just give it to me. Because, I mean, and that's kind of the next thing I want to get into. I've seen a lot of people say this. I've seen, Paul Tassi was talking about it a little bit ago on Twitter. It's the transmog cap needs to go.
Yeah.
I was fine with it last season because it was still something else to do. Like, I was passively earning the currency, but it was maddening that I could only pick up one at a time. I'm already done with my 10 transmog bounties for the entire season right now. Because I've done like 5 of them just in raids and dungeons since the beginning of the season. I've done 2 in Crucible, I've done 2 in Strikes, and I think I did 1 in Gambit. Like, I'm done. I'm done with mine. I may not be done. I think I have the final one in my inventory right now, and I need like 3 more Crucible matches to finish it.
Yeah. And
I'm done. I'm done until they reset the counter in, probably December?
Probably, yeah.
They're probably not going to do it until the 30th anniversary update. That's ridiculous. In a season that's this long, like, I'm glad that you are expanding it to 20 for this season. If you're going to have a cap, make it a bigger number, like 20 or 25 a season.
Yeah.
I don't think now. We've talked about this so many times. The whole point is to push you to purchase those tokens, right?
Yeah.
This just feels like such a blatant grab to get people who are impatient, and I'll tell you, it's fucking working because I'm thinking about it. Because it's just maddening. Like, there's still, like, I was like this when they first announced Transmog was coming, and I was like, well, how many times are you really going to need more than like 10 tokens in a season? And then I look at all the raid armor sets that I have. Like, I want to flex those. I want to show those off. If there's like really dope armor, like the Thorn armor, which I'm pretty sure is not going to drop as ornaments, I want to be able to transmog that right away. 5. I need 5 tokens for every class right away.
Yeah.
Right away I need to do it. So I'm going to do all my ones this season because I've got such a long season now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason. You can only hold 15 at a time for each class also, which is maddening.
Yeah.
Joe and I actually found that out the other day. He had 15 of them, and he tried to turn in Synthweave, and it wouldn't let him. I just don't understand, I guess, in a season where I feel like they're getting so much right off the bat.
Right.
It's maddening to see things like this, the cap to the seasonal currency, to the parallax. It caps out at 1,500. Most upgrades at the compass thing cost anywhere from 450 to 700.
Wow.
The tier 3 umbral engrams cost 600.
Wow.
Like, I like that we get it dropping from every activity. I get about 200 a match now after buying the first upgrade for how much you get from bosses. Like, I get 200 per nightfall. So cool, I can go run a handful of nightfalls and get it done, but it's like, it shouldn't be capped.
Right.
I understand why you cap certain things on the compass in terms of story progression and things like that. Cool. I get that. I get locking the story out week to week. What I don't understand is why not open up? Why not open up the upgrades on the compass, right? Like, at least it's not as maddening as the servitor was. You only got that currency if you did overrides and expunges. It got to the point where I wasn't sure I was going to finish the title last season as easy as it was, because I didn't think I had it in me to farm that much fractaline.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And it wasn't like the hammer charges for the hammer approving where you could get those anywhere.
Right. That's the thing. I feel like you should be able to, like, you should be able to
get charges for my lure for everything. Last season, I hope, was an outlier. But if you're going to keep doing these seasonal arena modes or like these 3 to 6 person activities, I'm cool with that. I like that, even if they're pretty cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to be for randos, right?
Yeah.
But holy shit, like, please keep letting me earn this. Why cap me? If you're going to cap me at some arbitrary number. Cap me at 10,000 like everything else.
Yeah.
Even with 10,000, I couldn't buy every upgrade on the board. I couldn't even do that. And now you've also gone and patched an exploit that was in the game where if you do a tier 3 decode on a weapon, you will get double perks in both columns 3 and 4 instead of just in the last column.
Yeah, I saw that today.
And that got fixed. That got fixed yesterday in a server-side fix. They didn't have to deploy a hot fix for that. That was just deployed server-side. Oh, we didn't mean to let you do that. Motherfuckers, this is exactly what you did with Menagerie, except Menagerie you let run rampant for like 5 or 6 weeks, and that's why everybody thinks it's the greatest activity in the history of Destiny.
Menagerie's...
Menagerie is the most overrated thing in this game. I'm not going to lie.
I don't want to say it sucked, but it was like...
It didn't suck. No, it absolutely didn't suck. But when we say, oh my god, Menagerie was so good, Menagerie was fine when you were getting 4 or 5 items per run. You ran out of the room, reset your lure, you got back. You could do that 4 or 5 times on console before the end. PC, you could do it like 6 or 7. Like, that is awesome. That was cool because that's how it felt the loot should be. It was exactly as bad as Battlegrounds. It was, you did it for 20 minutes for 1 piece of gear, ultimately.
Right.
It was cool that you could pick your gear and you could like try and navigate what masterwork you were going to get and things like that. But at the end of the day, it was still like, I don't think it was nearly as rewarding in loot like as you can get now in some of these activities.
No.
And I mean, the seasonal modes have always been really bad at that, right? Like, I see people complain about the Umbrals. I'm like, I will take Umbrals over Menagerie any day because I can earn Umbrals in any activity. God, I have to spend seasonal currency to get the good stuff.
Like, I think the Umbral Engram stuff is really cool. I wish it was a little bit more focused, or like maybe each, like, I don't know if this would even be possible, but like let Zavala have one. Let the other vendors have like little like versions of the Umbral Engram and let you focus. You know what I mean?
Well, so I think what they're doing is, I think Trials is their kind of grand experiment right now for vendor refresh.
All right, they are doing everyone's Trials. I forgot they were doing something like that.
I think that they're going to do a big thing. I think if it goes good with Trials this season, that gives them 6 months to implement it for all the other vendors by Witch Queen.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine you could focus and you could get one of like, say you're at Zavala, you have the chance to do that. And you can unlock any of the Vanguard weapons that can drop from strikes. There's like 4 or 5 of them right now, I believe. Maybe 6. There may be 6 of them now. But similar to how they do in trials, what if you paid extra, an exponential amount more you pay more to get a Nightfall weapon. You pay a lot more than that to get the Adept version. But you had to have cleared a Grandmaster in that week to even be able to access that.
Yeah.
That would be a great system, I think. Like, if I want to spend all my time chasing an Uzume roll, for example, the Solar Sniper from last season.
Right.
Let me do that. A lot of us wanted Hunjuri with Firefly last season when it came out. And we were killing ourselves to try and get it, or get Plug 1 with the Reservoir Burst. That's what it was, not the battery, Reservoir Burst, to basically make it Loaded Question 2.0. Like, if you can do things like that and like target those, that would be awesome. I don't know what your solution is. Like with Crucible and Gambit, obviously smaller pool, that's fine. Like let me target a Frozen Orbit. Let me target Survivor's Epitaph if I want to. Let me target the new, or I guess it's not new, it came out last season, the Gambit SMG, which really isn't that great. Bottom dollar. We were all trying to get bottom dollars the season that they came out, and they just wouldn't drop.
Right.
What if you could go focus those? Like pay more to focus, obviously, but I would rather do that with those primes that I'm getting and be able to focus on, like, the fact that the prime Ingrams you get from the vendors don't even drop the playlist weapons is pathetic.
Right.
That's just sad. It needs to be stuff that's currently in the rotation that we want. And if you're not willing to do that with them, that's okay. Let me buy a Crucible Ingram at the Umbral Decoder. If I want to spend my seasonal currency on something I can get out of a playlist, let me do it. You let me do it with everything else. Like we've got a friend of ours, Ray, is starting to play Destiny again, and I'm trying to get him caught up on weapons. So I'm having him buy Splicer Ingrams right now because you get 2 weapons.
Right.
If you buy it, you're getting 2 for 1. I'm like, you'll get this season's stuff just by playing because you got to play a lot. And they're going to drop from everywhere. They aren't just dropping from the seasonal activity, like, Chroma Rush and Ignition Code in them, where so many of your challenges will reward you with a roll for those also. But I don't know. Like, I think in that way, the catch-up mechanic is really good through the Umbrella Coder. He's got 6 months to get those, to get Season the Chosen weapons. He doesn't have to bother with those activities outside of doing them for the story if he wants to.
Right.
Which he likely will for, like, Chosen. He wants to see how we get to Proving Grounds. He wants to see how we get to the Zavala assassination.
Right.
He did the final override with me. He went in with me and did it so he could see the Saint 14 cutscene. And now we're doing the weekly story missions together, so I can kind of help explain where we are in the lore. But if you're gonna have catch-up mechanics like that, I think you got to have them for the vendors too. Like Trials, keep Trials where it is. That needs to be through Saint. I should never be allowed to get Trials weapons through the Umbral system. Ever.
No.
Ever.
Definitely not.
But I think maybe that's the happy medium if you don't want to let us do it through the vendors. At least upgrade it to where when I pick those legendaries from them up, which I ignore every season because they're 30 below where I am.
Right.
At least when I pick those up, let them have the playlist weapons in them. Even if I'm just getting like my 50th Frozen Orbit or 3rd Axiom, let me go ahead and get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's wrong with that in a loot-based game. Give me as many opportunities as possible to get them, and maybe expand the perk pools on these guns just a little bit more. Like, I don't know, like bring back it seems like we're getting a new set of weapons being brought back every season. We had the Future War Cult weapons come back last season along with some old Dead Orbit favorites last season and this season. Do that. I don't know. We're on a good path, I think, with the gunsmiths selling legendary weapons now.
Yeah. And
with Xur selling them, the Xur's prices are astronomical, though.
Yeah, 1,000 Glimmer and 50 legendary shards?
Yeah, I don't mind the 1,000 Glimmer, but I mean, the people who are... Let's look at this realistically. If you're buying a legendary weapon from Xur, it's either because it's a god roll, or it's because you're brand fucking new.
Right.
Like, so the gunsmith had the curated Bad Omens that we get from Drifter for finishing a full reset of Gambit.
Yeah.
And Ray was able to just go buy it for 25 legendary shards from the gunsmith last week.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I bought that version too because I didn't have it.
It's cluster and tracking bombs. We're like 4 years removed and it's still good.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it.
This isn't related to the conversation we're having, but a friend of the show, A1 Johnny, is texting me right now. He just played Iron Banner against Dado and apparently got the shit beat out of him. So that's really funny to me. This is not the first time he's lost to a prominent PvPer. Grenadier Jake also beat him in Trials and beat him really bad live on stream. Nice. So now I actually kind of want to go see if Dado's streaming and rewind it when it's on VOD to see the exact moment that he destroyed John.
That's hilarious.
But John, we love you. We really do.
Yeah, he sent me a side tangent too. He sent me a bunch of Titan builds, which I'm super appreciative of.
Good.
So,
I mean, this is the season. I guess kind of moving. It's still relating to gear, but this is the season. We said it last week. It's embracing its RPG side. This is going to tie into our next topic that they've talked about this week. But this is the season to start experimenting with a lot of builds. Mm-hmm. If you've held off, Warmind cells may not be as OP as they used to be. They're still good. If you want to play with those, play with those. This is a great time to build a Charge with Light or Elemental Well build. Mm-hmm. Elemental Wells have literally never been better than they are right now. Maybe we can all make sense of what the fucking Elemental Well is. Mm-hmm. But I think, those are there. There's obviously, there's stasis armor dropping down. There's special mods that only work on stasis armor. I'm finally using those 100 enhancement prisms that I have saved up from Master Nightfalls last season. I'm finally going to use those. Yeah, I wish that I still had my 10 golf balls that got deleted, but, I can use some of those Ascendant shards. I didn't grab any of mine from the past last year. Got the ones coming up this year. I want to have a whole set of stasis armor just hanging out in my vault because I want to mix and match. I want to use the season to experiment with armor. I want to have raid armor leveled up so that, this is my raiding set. So I have mods to help me out in certain encounters in vault. Mm-hmm. I don't need it in Deep Stone anymore, but I want to get into a habit of doing that because whenever a new piece of in-game content comes out, I want to be able to upgrade that armor right away so I can insert
right.
a
That's about where I'm at. I'm trying to grind out and build not specific builds because I don't know how they're going to change next season, but just basic, general, I need you in this activity build. Can you perform this task for me? Like a super bubble Titan, or he sent me some the solar Titan builds for ad clear and just other things, and it's really been cool to experiment with.
This is you're going to bankrupt yourself if you're trying to do a whole set, have multiple sets hanging out in your vault. And take it from somebody who's done this, you're never going to remember to pull all that out.
Yeah.
I'm only doing a full stasis set because I want to see what mods I like where, and so I can slot things in to try out in the future. Mm-hmm. I change my mods on the fly so much, but my Charge with Light almost always stays on there because I'm so... Not only am I used to running that, but because that fits my play style.
Right.
I'm usually I may be a hunter, but I'm typically in a support role. So as long as people are casting supers around me, they're charging me and I'm doing extra damage. Right. Even though I'm throwing that divinity bubble down, getting that extra 300 damage per hit is helping monumentally. Mm-hmm. It lets me cast my super without, and because the boss hasn't died, I don't lose my stacks. Mm-hmm. I'm doing extra damage, and that's what we want to be doing, right? If you're in a support role, you want to be able to do that. I'm playing with the artifact mods this season. I think they're all awesome. A lot of the ones in the last two columns, really cool. They're really encouraging stasis and solar, and for a hunter, it's thank God. I don't feel as bad about having to run Celestial Nighthawk or having to run my stasis super now because I instantly get my melee back if I stun a champion.
Right.
My throwing stars stun an unstoppable champion now. Mm-hmm. And they're leaning into unstoppable and overloads.
Right.
I don't think there's ever been as much freedom with your build as there is this season. But if you're going to talk about freedoms and builds, you also have to talk about the restrictions that champion mods place on us, I think. Mm-hmm. Because this season, it's unstoppable sidearm, unstoppable fusion / linear fusion, overload bow, overload sword, anti-barrier auto rifle, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. Unstoppable pulse. Unstoppable pulse, anti-barrier auto rifle, unstoppable fusion, fine. Overload Sword that's going to get a little dicey. Unless you're using a caster. If you're using something like Solar Scar, I think that's okay. Because you're shooting solar damage out. You can stun from a distance. Black Talon may be useful in that regard. Overload Bow is where I have an issue. I know a lot of people love this mod. I don't like using bows. I just don't. I tried all through Forsaken, waited, went back when Trinity Ghoul came out with the Catalyst, still didn't like it. I've never cared for Le Monarch. It was to the point where we were doing and I was trying to get the Deadeye seal done. And I had to go on a point of the Stag in the Crucible, and I just wanted to like rip my hair out. You know, it's like I would have some matches where I was like, oh, I'm getting like 15, 20 kills, and then I'd have some where I'm getting like 3.
Right.
It's not enjoyable to me. Like I was doing Nightfalls with Joe this afternoon. We were just running 1290s. You know, we were running the second tier, just trying to get a couple weapons to drop. He needed enhancement cores and or prisons and upgrade modules. So he had those mods on his go. So we were just talking. It's Lake of Shadows. It's a 7.5 minute Nightfall. Like it's nothing. You barely have to try, even on the second difficulty. But he was running Overload Bow, and it was just a frustrating experience. Like you have to use that, you have to use the sword mod, or you have to run Divinity to stun them. And it's like, well, whenever I see Overload and I know that like there's either not a bunch or we're gonna need Divinity for the boss or for a couple mini bosses or something, I'm like, well, I guess I'm throwing that on because that'll stun them real quick without having to use up a ton of ammo. And I want us to get to a point where we don't really have to worry about that anymore, because I think that really, for me, it detracts. Like, I had this conversation with Nerd Generalist, and it says, I think it would be better off for us if we had a couple permanent mods for champions. Like, make them cost like 4 or 5 energy. I don't care. And then the ones on the pass cost less. So it's encouraging you to optimize your build, but give me one that's worth like 4, and it's a permanent unlock of like anti-barrier scout rifle or overload scouts. Like anti-barrier auto rifle, unstoppable pulse, and overload scouts permanently in the game for like 3 or 4 energy each, and then they only cost 1 if you get them in the pass, if they happen to be in the pass that season. Let the artifacts allow me for more experimentation. Let me get that wacky stuff like unstoppable fusions, which I'm actually stoked about, because I like running fusions, and with Vex Mythoclast, it's a joke. Everything just dies.
Dude, everybody's using Vex and like in Crucible. It's either Vex or that the season pass one right now. Fusion rifles.
Lawrence Driver, I'm not it's good. I don't like it because I'm not a big linear fusion guy. It is good though. It's really good, even in PvE. I think when you can combine exotics with the anti-barriers, it's opened up a whole new style of play the last few seasons, right? But I think you have to have those standard mods so that way people who may not think, like, I mean, Ray wasn't aware that you had to go to your artifact to get mods to be able to stun champions. He's like, well, it shouldn't be that way. Totally agree. Like, I like that we have unstoppable and anti-barrier and some overload built into a few of these weapons. A few of the exotics you could get, especially during Shadowkeep, most of them seem to have that. I don't like that we've gotten away from that. I actually really hate it. But I don't know why that would be such a bad thing, or make it a perk on the guns. Make it a bonus perk you could get. Like, when you masterwork it, it gives you a I don't know. After you masterwork, or even, maybe you can...
Even an Adept, like if you go for the Adept version.
Yeah, if you go for the... well, I mean, like, I think it needs to be accessible to people who... like, are lower on the ladder. Like, let me pay 3 or 4 prisms and get a random champion mod slapped onto it or something. So I can use some of this stuff anywhere. That would encourage you to be using those endgame materials, not be hoarding them like so many of us do. But I think that opens up a whole new style of play. And I'm just spitballing. But I've said it for a while. I think the champion system needs to be reworked. It needs to be overdone. Like, I've never been a fan of content that's hard just for the sake of being hard. Like, that's my neighbors above me. I like content that's challenging, that feels rewarding. And when we have double Nightfall weeks, it feels really rewarding. Really rewarding. I love going in there and getting like 3 golf balls, a couple prisms, and maybe 2 drops of the weapon, or getting double exotic engrams. Like, it's always a great feeling for me. But why not sweeten that a little bit for everybody? Let me masterwork something and get a random champion mod thrown on it, or give me something as a permanent unlock. I don't know. I think it would, because the conversation we were having is we don't really want to play the endgame content. We don't want to play Master and Grandmasters this season because we don't want to be forced to run a bow. Something we already don't like in the hardest content, some of the hardest PvE content in the game. That's just not fun for anybody when you have to run stuff you're not good with because of necessity. I'm not rushing a champion with calling guillotine in a Grandmaster. I'll tell you that right now.
Why not?
So I'm going to pretend you didn't just say that. Like, I don't want to get curb stomped by Randall the Vandal or, you know, Shrek the Ogre. I want to curb stomp them. It's not supposed to be the other way around. But I don't know. I guess I'm starting to go off on a tangent, but like, just we have some of the best customization we've ever had with builds. Let me enhance that just a little bit more when it comes to champions, because I know like champions. I personally know a few people who have been really put off by wanting to try harder concept because they're like, we already have to deal with match game and with some of these other modifiers, and then we still have to use stuff we don't like on the champions. And I think so many of us got spoiled last season with the breach-loaded grenade launcher mods. I think we got spoiled with that, you know, not just breach and clear, but we had, I believe, unstoppable grenade launchers also, if I remember correctly. You had, you know, anti-barrier, auto, or pulls, you know, like overload scouts. It was a great selection of mods. It was a great time to go run that content. I mean, even the season before, we had anti-barrier sniper back in Chosen. I can't tell you how awesome that felt with Izanagi's bird. It was great. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see when we talk about, like, wacky mods. I don't want to open it up and in the first column I see, you know, my options for overloads this season are a sword or a bow. Give me one of those and one normal one, please. Like, I get what they're going for because, you know, bows have unlimited ammo now, but just Jesus Christ, y'all.